Namaskaram everyone. Welcome back to the 37th episode of our Master Unreal series, and this is the second part of our core interaction system mechanism. So in this episode I'm going to show you the remaining part where we will interrupt our single tap and make our double tap action override. So multi-tap system will be communicated in this video, and if you haven't watched the last 4 episodes and especially the last episode, so I highly recommend you please check out the last episode. And if you are following the series and you have made this far, then congratulations, you are one step closer to the interaction system's completion. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Alright, so this is our editor and this is what we did last time in the interaction. So first time when the ability activates, we have to call the tap logic of that particular actor. So once you activate the ability, we will execute the tap. So if your interactable, let's say door or bench, has implemented single tap, then the logic will run. If not, then we will carry forward and then these listeners will be initiated. Okay, so we will push this in the left side and we will add our tap event. Okay, for now, just understand the skeleton of execution of this tap and hold. So when you activate your ability for the first time, we will execute the tap, that is single tap. Now we need to pass the data, which we'll do later. And then we will check whether the interactable has implemented the hold functionality. If so, then we will initialize a listener for hold. Then we will initialize another event for tap so that you can have multi-tap system. If the interactable haven't implemented any tap, this will fail silently. And then we have this interacted, which is fired when the interaction is over. So we have these 3 listeners. Now let's say, look at this situation. This is a door. It has single tap and double tap. If you try single tap, it tries to open the door, and if you press again for double tap, then it will kick. But when it comes to this bench, you have to hold the E. If I tap E, then nothing will happen. I have to hold it. So let's dry run this logic. If I press E in case of bench, this will check whether it is available to interact. It is, and it has successfully detected the actor, so everything is good till this point. Then it executes this tap logic. So now if the bench doesn't have implemented the tap, so this will not result into anything. Now we will check if there is a hold functionality being implemented. If so, then we will initialize the listener. So in this case, hold is implemented. There is no double tap, so this tap will not work anyway, and we will wait for the interaction over, of course. Okay, so now if I press E for the first time, nothing will happen. If I press E again, nothing will happen. But if I press E and I hold, then this listener will be fired. But I have to press hold within a time frame. If I did not, then the ability should end. Why I'm saying that is because let's say you didn't hold the E key. You pressed once and then you left. So now the interaction ability is still active because it was waiting for that hold event, but you didn't do it. So we have to end the ability. So these are the cases that can happen with you. Let's focus on this door. If I remove its single tap functionality and only keep double tap, then what will happen? So if I go back to my logic, you press the E one time, it will come here, it will execute this tap logic. Nothing will happen because the single tap is not yet implemented. Neither hold is implemented. So now if I'm waiting for a listener, I want to receive the second tab as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll not execute my double tap logic, which is kicking the door. But what if you don't press the double tap on time, or you just leave? The ability is still active, hoping that you will press E second time so that it can execute the double tap logic, which is stored in the door blueprint, but it didn't happen. You just left. So this ability has to end itself because there is no one external who can update this ability that, hey, the character left or the interaction did not begin or anything of that sort. So there is no communication about it. You just left. The single tap did not work because it was not implemented. there was the implementation of double tap, but you did not press it. So the interactable did not inform you, the character did not inform you, and now you are waiting for this event. So we have to end the ability, otherwise it will keep eating our resources. So this is the place where we have to keep track of the time. So we will set a duration of 2 seconds in certain situations here. If you do not press E, then we will simply end the ability manually because no one is here to notify us. Okay, so that is the issue that I want to address in case of multi-tap systems. So for this, I'm going to create a custom event and call it start tracking, and then another custom event to stop tracking. That means if I receive the double tap or multi tap or hold, then I will stop the tracker. Otherwise, it will end the ability. So if I start tracking, I will set timer by events. I'll set duration of 2 seconds. So after 2 seconds, it will execute this event, which is timeout. And this timeout will simply end this ability. And the target is self. That means this particular instance of the ability, and it will end it. And it will also notify the interaction manager. So for this, I will get the owner who owns this ability. So get avatar actor from actor info, and we will notify him, that is BLI receiver on interaction over. Okay. It could be another situation if you have a single tap and triple tap, no double tap. So in that case, the system is waiting for the second tap, but it did not happen. But as soon as it happens, the tracker has to reset so that it can again start waiting for the third tap. So this is how the tracker is going to keep track of the next tap. And if you did not press on time, it will end the ability and it will notify your source that, hey, there was no input received and neither I got any information from the interactable. Consider the interaction is over. Okay. So this is the start tracking, and now we are going to store the reference so that we can reset it. So we will promote it to variable and we will call it tracker. Okay. So whenever you start the tracker, it will store this reference in this variable. And then what we are going to do is check whether this tracker is valid. So if it is a valid timer handle, then we would like to end this. And the way to clear the timer or stop the tracker is by clear and invalidate timer by handle. And now you provide the handle, that is this one. Okay. But again, like I said, you might want to restart. Okay. If you receive the tab, then you might have to restart if that implementation is not present and you start waiting for the next tab. So we will provide the input that says restart. So if you say restart, then it will delete the old timer and will initiate a new one. So we will go for a sequence node. First you clear the timer and then you check for a branch. If this restart is true, that means I have to start the timer again. I have stopped the previous one. I have to start a new one. So just call this start tracking event. This will create a new timer and it will store its reference in the tracker so that it can be end in the next call. Okay, so this is how you manage the session between taps. Now let's focus on the implementation of tap and hold for this ability. So this tap is covering single, double and multi-tap, of course. So we will create a payload where we can receive the information of tap count and who was the actor, of course. So we will create a pin called payload and we will name it gameplay event data, and this payload is available here now. So I will make gameplay events data. Remember, when you are pressing for the first time, if I go to third person and in the interaction manager, remember when you are activating for the first time, you are passing no information about the tap count. Okay, so there is no payload you are receiving. You only receive payloads or events when you go for the next tap, that is double tap, triple tap or n tap. So we have to create that here manually. I'll take event tag as tap Instigator is the actor himself. So get avatar actor from actor info. And the target is this hit actor that we are saving here. And the optional object, we have to create its instance. So for this, we'll do the same thing by pushing it and making some space here. Construct object from class, and the class is interaction object. Now the tap count is 1 because this was initiated for the first time. Elapsed seconds, we don't care at this moment, and the mode is tap. So this is the optional object that we need to pass. So you have both the informations. Now you can execute this tap logic. We have to do the same for hold. So hold will also accept the payload where you will have the elapsed seconds. So call it payload, and here in the hold you will pass this payload as it is. Okay, so this is tap and hold. Now we will implement this. Now I want you to forget what you done in the last 3 episodes of door because it was character specific. Now I want you to think it from a generalized logic. So when the ability activate for the first time, tap will happen. I want to extract this payload and I want to get the tap count out of it. So we will get the tap count, but before this we have to cast this to bp underscore interaction object, and now we can access the tap count. And now we will call the interact of the target. So call the interact function that is present in the BLI interactable. Now this is having character pin, but now we are making it generalized. So what we will do in the interactable, we will go to interact, you will add another pin and call it instigator. Now I'm not deleting the old one just to avoid errors in the door blueprint, but we will delete it later. So we will add actor, okay? And we also want to pass the tap count so that you can execute the logic based on this count because interact is supported for multi-tap. So I'll refresh and now I'll pass the tap count, and the instigator is get avatar actor from actor info. So this ability is for those who have ability system. If they don't, they will communicate via interfaces directly. Cool. So you have implemented this. Now in the interact, we were using valid pin. Let's call it B is implemented. So if it is implemented, the interact functionality for that tap count, it is not necessary. Maybe single tap is not implemented. It's the double tap. So every time you call this tab, you have to check the count, you have to call it, and for that count, if it returns valid, then only it is fine. Otherwise, we will compile, we'll go for a branch node, and let's say for the first time when you press the tab, you gave it tap count 1 and door has implemented, so it is fine. Now that implementation will take some time. The door opening animation, you don't know what animation might be there, so you want to stop the timer. You don't want to restart it. So if it is implemented, then it is fine, but if not, then you have to restart the timer. So for the false pin, we will go stop tracking and restart. Why? Let's say the door has not implemented single tap, it has implemented double tap. So when you will press for the first time, this will be called, and this will result that for this tap count 1, there is no implementation. So we'll say, okay, let's start the timer again and wait for the next tap. If we receive, then fine. What will happen when you will receive? You will go and execute this, and this will become tap count 2, and you will say, yes, this is an implementation. So if this is an implementation, then I would like to stop the timer. Okay, so instead of going for a branch node, what you can just do is connect this and is implemented to not boolean and connect this. So what does this mean? If the tap count functionality is implemented for this number, then stop the timer but do not restart it. But it is not implemented, then stop the timer and not becomes true. So we say restart it and wait for the second count. If you receive, fine. If you don't, then end the ability. So compile. Okay, so this is the core logic of tap. Now same thing can be applied for hold as well. So let's talk about the bench. You receive the first tap, it will call it, and this will result into false, and this will stop the timer, which is absolutely fine because bench is only allowing hold. So when this is done, we will go to the first sequence, you will check get hold time. This will return, hey, the hold implementation is present. So that means we have to start the tracker right away because tap is already been done. Now it's about checking whether you are holding or not. So if you are not holding and you release it, so as soon as release happens, the timer will keep track, and if you do not press again, then it is gone. And double tap is anyway not included. So we will go for start tracking. Remember, this will only happen if the hold is implemented. So the tracking will begin, we will store the time, and then we will start listening for the hold event. So you will keep giving me the elapsed seconds. If you don't, then the ability will end. That means you have left. So once we have received the hold event, we would get the elapsed seconds. Now we have to wait till we reach to that threshold. Then only we are going to call the hold event. So what I will do, I'll get this payload, I'll break it, and here I will get the elapsed seconds. So for this I will cast to BP interaction object in the event received and get the elapsed seconds. Then I'll get the hold time. Let's change this to required hold time. So if the elapsed second is greater than or equal to the hold time, that means you have crossed the threshold. Now you should do your action. So we'll go for a branch node. We'll go here and then we will execute the hold. But if you haven't reached, then we will reset the timer and restart it. So stop tracking, because remember you are going to receive it every 0.2 seconds. So you need to reset the timer. In case you have some different threshold, this has to be taken care, because this timer will end the ability in 2 seconds. And if your dynamic threshold is more than 2, then that would be a problem. So we will reset the timer. And we will also stop the tracking, but we will not restart it. Why? Because once the threshold is reached, the hold functionality will be triggered. Now this might take its own sweet time depending on what type of action you want to do. So we will stop the tracker and we'll say we are doing the interaction, so no need to track. The tracking is only required when something is not implemented and you are waiting. But right now something is happening. So when it is finished, it will automatically notify the source that, hey, it is over, and that will fire the interacted event here, and you will end the ability by yourself. So that's the reason we are not restarting it. Great. Now we need to pass the payload. So I'll get R and we will pass it here. Okay, I just made it little nicer. So the logic is same. Great. Now we can go to our hold and then we will simply call the hold. So calling the hold functionality, just break the gameplay event data and pass the payload here, get the target and go for hold interact from BLI Interactable. Make sure the target is correct. You can also cut this logic and place it in the hole if you want. That would be a more cleaner way. So I can go here, paste it, and right here in the hole, I will remove this and I'll pass the payload here. You will do all the checks and balances, and we will first stop the tracking. And let's bring it a little nicer. And now you can just also remove this and bring the hold interact, and you can delete this one. And you need target, so for target just go for another pin and plug it here. Okay, so this is much better. Okay, so you directly call hold right after this. You pass the payload and whatever logic that you want, you can do it here. So you cast, branch, stop and hold and perform the action. Great. And now if you open the single door, you have this interact functionality, right? Great. So now you are expecting a character, but it is no longer character because door can be interacted by anyone. So now we are going to start from scratch. Just reconnect what we did. So first, let's remove all this. We don't need it. Okay. And let's remove this character. Compile. We are good. Now we just have instigator and tap count. So first what we will do is we will go to our is available to interact. So this will be told by this interaction allowed. Also, let's rename it to be is interaction allowed. So this is what everyone will use before beginning the interaction to check whether it is available or not. Then they will call this interact. So we want the skeletal mesh if it's a character. So right now I haven't implemented the key part. So in the next episodes, we will make the changes again. But for now, let's assume it's character, but it is ready to afford more than one type of actors. For now, I'm just showing you character again with a new implementation. So we want to get the skeletal mesh because we were only passing the character just to get its skeletal mesh so that we can use the animation functions and the play montage. So what we will do in the BLI, right click on this, show in folder view, right click and create another blueprint interface. Call it BLI underscore character. Anyone who is a character can implement this to get certain functions. For example, get skeletal mesh, and the output is the SK mesh, and the type would be skeletal mesh component. Great. Now we can go to our third person, and under the class settings, we can add this interface that is character. Once we do that, we can compile and we got this function. Now here you can pass the skeletal mesh. Why I'm saying this is because if you use the get component by class and provide the skeletal mesh component class, then it will give you an array because it can have multiple meshes. So we just want the main mesh which has the animation blueprint attached to it. And some actors might just have one mesh. So to avoid that, we created this function. Compile. And now we can get skeletal mesh. Once we get it, we will promote it to variable. Okay. Now after this, I'll go for a sequence node here. Once this is over, now here we are going to receive the tap count. So we are going to switch on this. So it's now up to your actor how much tabs you want to implement. So I just want single tap and double tap. Also, let's change the starting index to 1, single, double, and nothing. So if it is a single tap, then I would like to call the single tap event, which contains the logic. So I'll create a custom event, call it single tap, compile, go back to interact, and you can call that single tap here. Let's say if it is double tap, then I will have another custom event that handles the double tap logic. So I'll say double tap, go back to interact and call the double tap. Okay. But if there is some other count, let's say you do not want to implement single tap, you just want to go for double, then in any case, you have to return. So if you just want double tap, then you can start from 2 and you can remove this pin and just implement double tap. So when it comes to single tap, you will return not implemented like this. But if it is implemented, then you will send it as a true. So since we have single and double both, I'll just go for both of them. So single is this, double is this. So in both the cases, we do not want to allow. So what I will do is on interaction not allowed, and then duplicate this, connect it here. Okay. So in both the cases, interaction will not be allowed. You will be going for single tap or double tap. Okay. And now we can return that these two tabs are implemented. So if you come this way, you still return true. If you come this way, then also true. But if it is some other number, it is false. Great. So this is all you need for interact. Now you can implement your logic. So we'll just close every other tab. And now this is what we did. As you all remember, we have two more things, that is interrupted and interaction over. So we will delete what we created last time, this custom event, and instead we are going to use this one. Let's bring the logic here, connected with this, close the door here. And now this part is dedicated for the character. So key might have something else. Okay. So we have to take care of this particular thing in their respective places. So we'll go to our third person character and open our interaction manager. And here we will deal with this. So I will say custom events, reset character settings. This is what we will call to reset the mirroring and everything. We will go back to single door, and this is purely for the player. So we will select everything and deselect this one. Right click and go for collapse to function. We will say prepare character. So if it is a character, we will call prepare character. If it's a key, then we will go for prepare key. So this is the implementation of door. Right now I'm not including key, but this is how you will do. So we will prepare the character, and now we do not need this character. We just want the input, and this should mirror. We'll take the actor and we'll give you the result. Then this will position the actor, and you will pass is at front. Then you will go for set animation tag. And now here, this is for prepare characters. Instead of accessing character, you can access its mesh, which is present right here. So you get the mesh anim instance, set the animation tag. It's okay if you're receiving the errors, fine. So we got the prepare actor. Now we will connect it in this on interact, but it is not possible at this moment. And anyway, we have to implement this in the single tap. So let's take the logic here and we go for single tap, and let's rename it to instigator to avoid confusion. Now you might be wondering what happened to my explanation on the on interact. Yes, for example, if you are collecting something, then you want to place some Niagara Fall particles before beginning the animation, or you want to change the color of something. All those kind of things that has to be done with this actor, you can do it first here. So you can call the on interact here. Okay. And then you can do the logic. So for example, in our case, we can just remove this interaction allowed from here, connect this directly, and do the disabling part here. This is the use case. Now you can call this on interact right here before starting the main work of animation or action. Great. So you disable the interaction. Now you have prepared the character. Now you are about to play the animation. So we will bring this little closer right here. So now we don't need this character. We have the SK mesh. So go for skeletal mesh component and remove this as well. And go for SK mesh here as well. Now you might be wondering why we are doing this here, because play montage cannot be used inside the functions. It has to be used in the event graph. So that's the reason we are not collapsing it into a function. Now, as we discussed, we need the on interaction, interrupted and over as well. So we will double click on them so that you can get these nodes to connect their implementations. We will call them from here. So delete this, compile. It is fine if you're getting the error. Search for on interact over, call from BLI interactable, because this on interact over is part of this interface which is implemented by this door. So call from this one. This is for over, and for interrupted, on interact interrupted here. Good. Just duplicate this logic here as well. And you can delete this one and call on interact again from the interactable, so that you don't need to connect the self node into this pin. Okay, cool. We have everything. Now, once the interaction is over, we have to notify the source. So we have to go back to our interactable, and on interaction over needs the source. So instigator, and change this to actor, object reference. Do the same for interruption. We have to notify him, instigator. Okay, compile, go back to door, and you will find the pins available right here. Now let's pull this up. And now we need to pass the instigators. Pull this here. Now you can connect the pins. Okay, this is connected with this. Pull these down as well and connect this pin here. Connect this pin here. Okay, if you can make it nicer, go for it. All right, we'll pull this a little down. Okay, so we are good. Now resetting this. So this interaction over has to be implemented in their respective actors or the instigators. So I'll cut this logic and I'll go to my interaction manager and I'll paste it here. Connect this with the reset character settings and we will reset this whether it is over or interrupted. Ignore the errors. Duplicate this, connect it here. Okay, now let's fix the errors. We don't need this character, we need the owner's reference. So get owner and get skeletal mesh, which will be present here. And you can delete these two nodes, plug it here, make some space, connect it here. And for the controller rotation, we'll pass this owner again. Okay, so you reset the animation tag. If it is not implemented, it will fail silently. Same goes for the rotation as well. And we compile. Go back to our door. And in both the cases, we will notify it to their respective event. So instigator on interaction interrupted. Go for receiver this time because now you are calling the receiver's event. So the character is implementing the receiver. So we will go for this. Oops, this should be here. It's on Interactable and on interaction interrupted from BLI receiver, we go here. Good. In both the cases, we have to allow the interaction. Okay, hit compile. Now we are all set here. We can go back to our interaction manager. And once the interaction is over, we would like to reset the last step count because now it is open for the new session or activation of the ability. And we will also reset the current hit actor. And we will send the gameplay event to actor, which is nothing but ability system. That interaction is over. Remember, this interaction over can also be called by the source and can also be called by the ability. So if it is called by source, then you have to notify the ability that interaction is over. So we will say interacted and there is no need to attach any payload and get owner. So if you go to gameplay ability, you see here you are waiting for the interacted. So you will end the ability. Why not just end the ability here? Because sometimes you just want to do more logic in your game. So just wanted to keep the scope open. Compile. And now we can delete this character in our single door blueprint. Okay, it is still being used. Let's find the references. Okay, here in the position actor, we are still using it. So we need to remove it from here. We'll get the character out. And we are calling the position actor in the event graph in the prepare actor right here. So we'll create another one that is instigator and call it actor. Object reference. And you can double click, go for R and connect it here. Now you can open this and connect the instigator here and here. And you can get instigator again, this one, this function symbol, okay? Connect it, delete the character, okay? Now compile. Now let's try to delete and it is deleted. And here in the GA interact, you can delete this one and just use this instigator just to avoid calling the function unnecessarily. And in the interact, we forgot to connect the instigator, my bad. So we should get instigator, that is the last one, the function variable. Okay, now hit compile, play, press E, you are able to interact. All right, so let's quickly implement double tap. We are reaching the time limit. So let's open the door blueprints. Here we will add the double tap logic. So just go to the project that is available on Discord under content, character, mannequin animations and actions. You will find kick UE animation. You can migrate it into your project. Just deselect everything, select the kick UE, okay, and this is my project. I will select this folder under the content. Once I do that, I can come back to my project, and in the mannequins, animations, actions, I'll find the kick UE animation. Make sure the force root lock and root motion is checked. Save. And now we will create a montage out of it. Move it inside the montages. And now open it up. Okay, so keep it default slot since both upper body and lower body are involved. And I would like to open my door right at this point, 1.13. So I'll add a notification that I have to start opening the door real fast. So add a notification, right click 1.13, and I want my door to be open at this point, okay, when my leg is almost coming to the bottom. So from 1.13 to 1.30, in between these two timestamps, the difference is of 0.17 seconds. So I have to open the door real fast, which is between 0.17 seconds. So let's quickly go to single door, and in the event graph, this is our double tap. We have to do the same thing, copy these two, duplicate. I will disable the interaction allowed. Then I'll prepare my actor. I'll plug the instigator here. Once this is done, I'll start playing the montage. So I'll just duplicate these two nodes and we'll plug it here. And now we can select the animation of kick UE montage, save it so that this notification gets saved. And now when you will receive the notification begin, we will open the door. So use timeline like we saw in the previous episode, rename it to door kick. And now we have to update the position. So let's create a custom event that can update the position for both of these timelines because we do not want to repeat the logic. So custom event, update door position, and you can cut this entire logic, paste it here, and pass this pin here, and we call this yaw. Okay, compile, and now you can call this here, delete this, update door position, and the yaw is this. Okay, so now we can delete this one, we don't need it. And now we can use the same update door position event here, and yaw would be, let's open the timeline, add a float track, name it door kick yaw. Now we have 0.17 seconds, remember? So in 0.17 seconds, I will add two keys. Select the first one, set it at 0, 0. That means 0 rotation at 0 second. And once it reaches 0.17, then it will become 1. So this is how the yaw will increase in this time frame. Now compile, go back to event graph, and you can connect this here. And we should always play from start. Okay, so now compile, and now we can go to interfaces, interact. This double tap is present. Now you can connect the instigator here as well. Okay, now if I play, go to my door, press E1, press E again, and it opens. Okay, it is facing wrong direction. So I'll go to my door event graph, and in the update door position, we can send the direction. So let's go for direction, and this would be float, which means 1 or -1. So we will connect it right here, and we'll cut this, we'll paste it here, and we'll connect this here. For this one, it is opposite. So I will reverse this one, -1 and 1, and I will connect it here. Compile, play, press E1, 2. Okay, fantastic. So there's another way that I wanted to tell. You can remove this delay, and you can remove this as well. You just close the door, and you do the same here. Okay, and the door will be closed after 1 second. So where is our closed door logic? Here. So we will create a delay of, let's say, 1 second. Now if I compile, and also let's change the B is locked to false. If you guys have true, just make it false. And now we have to also notify about the interaction over and interrupted. So let's go like this, put it here. So we will call on interaction over from the interactable and on interaction interrupted from the interactable again. Okay, and the instigator, let's get this guy. Again, you can make this more beautiful. I'm in a rush right now because I'm reaching the time limit. So let's try from this side now. It opens fine. If I try from this side, it opens fine. I'm doing the double tap. If I try single tap, it just tries to open. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. In the next episode, I'll show you how you can implement the hold interaction with a bench use case, and then this would be the wrap up for our interaction system. And from there onwards, it will all about expanding as per your game requirements, adding more and more scenarios. But I'll try to post a few more examples so that you can relate and understand with this interaction system that you have built in the last 2 episodes better. So till then, take care and like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, do join our Discord community. All the assets are available on Discord for free. You can join and download it from there. And before I say goodbye, I want to tell you that there are a lot of things you can do right now till this point. You can check whether the interacting tag is being present when the character is interacting. Is the interruption and completion has been communicated back to its source? Is the ability ended? You can apply print string nodes in a lot of places and debug and try to understand what you have made in Unreal Engine by watching these episodes. So I highly recommend you spend some time on it, try run the logic, try to add some print string nodes to understand the situation more better. And in the next episode, I'll tell you how to implement hold. So till then, take care. Bye bye.